Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the DLO After the Show. This is a show that is devoted to reviewing and discussion and interviews based around the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries show, Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I'm your host, well, one of your hosts, Kenny, also known as Adzuki on virtually all social media, joined by my lovely wife,
Natasha, also known as Juniper Dreamy.
Yeah, yes. Well, and again, like I said in our intro video that was up on the Facebook page, that this is that's a new account on Twitter. But feel free to go ahead and go follow her on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter as well. But enough of that nonsense. We're gonna go ahead and get started right into explaining exactly where we actually got. Actually, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to actually go into how we got the idea to do the show.
That's fine.
Okay, so I was on, we had just got done watching the most recent TV movie, which was To the Altar, which, for those that are not initiated into Signed, Sealed, Delivered, it started out as they had a backdoor pilot TV movie back in 2013, and then it switched to series because it got picked up and it had a number of great episodes. And we were like, "Oh, this is a great show." It was the acting is stellar by all the mains. You also have great supporting cast, and then the music was good, the storyline was great. And then it ended up switching to TV movies. And a lot of people were really upset that we weren't getting weekly episodes. But then we actually realized that the longer movies were actually really, really nice because they could flesh out the stories more. So I was on Twitter. We had just watched the most recent one, absolutely loved it. And I had just went on Twitter and I had just hashtagged it POstables because that's what the four main characters call themselves, the POstables. I don't think I really need to give an explanation of what the show's about, being that if people are listening to a podcast devoted to it, they're kind of going to know a little bit about the show. But so the post office workers in the dead letter office, they call themselves the Postables. I hashtag that. I did not realize the absolute massive fandom that this show has behind it. So I made that post and I walked away from my desk. And I come back an hour later and it's like, you have 95 notifications. And I'm like, wait, what? So I'm looking at it. I'm seeing all these retweets and all these different things and people interacting with what I had said about the episode. So I was like, okay, well, I just replied to one person and I threw the Postables hashtag in again, walked away to pick up the kids. Came back 45 minutes later, it's like, you have 105 notifications. I'm like, I just cleared those out. So for the next couple of days, it just kept on going and going. And after discussing with a couple of the, the regular or the not normal, but the people that are tweeting the most often, they, I had just made mention that my wife and I just so happened to do podcasts, and I was like, it'd be kind of cool to do a podcast based on the show, and it was like, oh my, yes, and everyone was ready to do it. So we just started planning, and the people that we are, we just started brainstorming different ideas and kind of fleshed it out, and it's finally come to fruition within less than a month's time. Though we went from not really, it was like, you're sitting there, you lift up a rock and you realize that there's an entire ant colony under there. That is essentially what we kind of stumbled upon with the fandom, and actually realized that Hallmark has a lot of little subgroups. You have sleuthers, you have the Postables, you have the Hallmarkies. There's several other ones out there, and it's hard to keep them all straight. Because there's just a bunch of great content, but personally we're a little partial to this show. We absolutely love it, and it's for my wife, my lovely wife Natasha. She doesn't really dig a lot of like serial shows, like shows that that have like running storylines and whatnot, right?
No, I like to say I live my happy bubble. I've been sick for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's gotten worse over the last 2. And so, I have troubles following storylines. It's challenging to remember things. And so for me, in a way, I like the movies because they don't necessarily tie together, and it's easier for me to follow. Um, but I also love it because a lot of regular TV shows, um, even if they're comedies, there's like tense moments, or I don't, I can't, I can't do that. I can't handle that. So I like how happy this is, and yes, they have their human moments where they struggle with things and whatnot, but it's like an average struggle, like normal couples or friends or people. It's not these over dramatic, crazy things that I'm like, okay, I just need to go find something happy now.
One thing I love about the show is, and a lot of the story is credited to the creator of the show, Martha Williamson, is she can deal in real world heavy subjects and still make it to where it's not sugar coated, but it's a little bit easier to digest. And again, that's what I think makes the show kind of unique.
That's what I like about a lot of the things we watch from Hallmark,
Hmm.
whether it's the Christmas movies or whatever. While some of the stories are heavy, oh crap, I don't remember the name of the one movie I watched. I could not watch that right now. I would cry my eyes out.
There's several that have really, really deep, deep storylines.
And it's not that these are not like a solid story.
Oh no, they're incredibly solid stories.
And that's the other thing we like about it. You never actually know what's going to happen. Usually, with a lot of the Christmas movies we like, it's like, okay, this is whatever the main story happens to be, businessman, secretary, whatever. Oh yeah, they're going to fall in love. This, you're like with the last one, you're like, okay, well, then who? Then it's this person, or no, maybe it's this person at the end. You're totally wrong.
Yeah, it completely keeps you guessing. I absolutely love how every episode that we've watched, we're sitting there, we're like, oh, it's gonna be the sister. The sister's the one wait, the sister's there now, so it's not the sister. Who is it? And we'll sit there and look at each other like, what's what? And then at the right as the main plot line starts becoming, starts being revealed, it's like, I didn't. Oh, you never really see it coming.
Yeah.
And again, the writing for the show is absolutely stellar. And one of the things that we absolutely loved about the show, actually, what was our hook into the show, was the lead actor Eric Mabius.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen him in several things before, like Crow Salvation. I saw him in. I've seen him briefly in like Ugly Betty. Saw him in Cruel Intentions. But we saw Eric Mabius in a Christmas movie, probably what, 2 or 3 years back. Actually, I can bring up the let's see. So I have IMDb up right now because that's going to be very, very helpful in everything we do here. And the Christmas movie that he was in, I think it was in 2013 that it came out, or was it?
It was longer than that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sitting here. I'm trying to look for it, and I'll cut this out. I probably won't. A Christmas Wedding. Oh wow, that's from
Yeah, I
2006.
told you.
Okay, so totally off. Okay, so Eric, we saw a movie that had it was a Lifetime movie. Sorry, Hallmark, cheating on you a little bit. There was a Christmas movie called A Christmas Wedding. It starred Eric Mabius and Sarah Paulson. Had Dean Cain in it as well, which we absolutely love Dean Cain.
Yes, but this is a movie you hate him in.
I wouldn't say hate him in that. He's no, yeah, never mind. Yeah, we didn't like him all that much. Sorry, Dean. But like he's gonna.
Well, when you take a part where you know you're the jerk, I'm pretty sure you're prepared for the hate.
Good point. Good point. So there is, with that movie, we absolutely loved his character in it. And again, it was him and Sarah Paulson. It was a nice Christmas movie, and it had one of those ones where there was pratfalls and mishaps, and people were trying to get reconnected. I highly recommend. We both highly recommend it. We're going to be reviewing it on our would you call it a sister podcast or a brother podcast or just a sibling? We'll call it a sibling podcast that will be coming out as well, based on Christmas movies, and that one's going to be a year-round deal as well. And that one is called Hot Chocolate and Snowflakes. I'm hot chocolate. Yeah, I just had to make the joke. It's a double meaning. Anyway, so we had watched that movie, and we had watched it probably right around 2013. I think it was either Christmas 2013. Yeah, it was that we watched it. We watched it after we moved to Oregon, and then we
Oh
saw
yeah,
that
it
they were
happened.
doing the TV movie for Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Now, I had heard about the show prior to it actually us seeing the preview. It was just called, but they marketed it as Dead Letters. That was the original name of the show. Sorry about that. But once we saw that he was going to be in it, we're like, oh, let's give it a shot, and we were hooked. From the storyline was great. Having Kristen Booth as Miss McInerney. I have I'm like marble mouth whenever I try to say that. I'm just gonna say Shane. Um, but with her being kind of the fish out of water coming
Mhm.
into the dead letter office department, and the characters were just wonderful. They were quirky. You had Oliver with his yoo-hoo. You had Rita with her photographic memory. You had Norman being Norman,
And
and
that's why you love
that's why you love him. And
Norman.
I kind of love how, and we'll talk about this probably multiple episodes, but I love how he went from being like kind of the monkeys type hair,
Mhm.
he a little feathered a little bit, and then it kind of went more so with a clean cut,
Mhm.
real. What's the word you would use? Just just proper, not prim and proper, but proper. I would say Oliver was more prim and proper. Norman's just proper. Really well mannered. He's kind of Clark Kent in it, and but with all these characters, I think that if I'm not mistaken, the first episode had Valerie in it. Um, I think that was the first episode. I'm going to have to brush up a little bit on, and that's one of the things we're going to be doing. We're going to be going back and rewatching a lot of the original episodes just to see. Just to kind of bring ourselves back up to speed. It's been a while since we've revisited. I know a lot of the Postables. Shout out to the Postables. Go back and watch these all the time. I need to kind of brush up on it. Okay, so the TV movie did not have Valerie Harper in it, but I think it may have been the second episode, maybe, or like
She's
the.
been in it that long, really?
Oh yeah. She was, and she like did this dance number in it, if I'm not mistaken.
See, this is the advantage for me going back and rewatching all these because I have memory issues. I don't remember a lot of these. So, it's it's like a new thing for me because I genuinely don't remember. I
It,
don't remember past maybe 2 movies ago.
It's and again, given her condition with what she's been dealing with her illness, which if you do want to read up on anything that we've been going through for the last 4.5 years, just gonna throw in a really quick plug for lifeandlime.com.
Yes, but it should be Life and Lime and everything else.
We may need to just update the domain to that because it's not just Lime anymore. We're going a little bit further and deeper and researching, and there's a whole another podcast in that, but we're not doing that one for a long time. But anyway, this
It's not this.
yeah, you have Valerie Harper and this is for the first episode.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Valerie Bertinelli.
Oh well,
That's who I thought you were talking about.
both of them are in that episode. Actually,
Oh,
you have Valerie Harper and Valerie
okay.
Bertinelli as well as Della Reese. Actually, you know what? I may be wrong on this because this isn't for just one specific episode. IMDb keeps on messing things up. They at one point they made it to where you could look
Okay.
per episode, and it looks like they've kind of taken that away.
We'll let you know when
We'll
she
let you
shows
know.
up.
Yeah, once we get to doing the actual episode reviews, we'll let you know. So anyway, so this was just really just an introductory podcast episode. This is going to be episode 1 of many episodes. We're probably going to start out with reviewing the initial backdoor pilot, and then we'll go probably chronologically, except for as we get closer to Christmas. Oh wait, or not. She might have
That's
another
a
idea.
tough one.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I'd want to do that at Christmas too. But if you do that,
Mm-hmm.
then you sort of like if someone hasn't watched the series and
That's
up
a
to
good
that
point.
point.
That's a very, very good point. So maybe what we might do is just we might just look at the list of the different episodes and kind of just pick and choose which ones we would want to go into. We might, I love it when she makes that face because I know that the wheels are turning and she's coming up with some really, really good ideas. So that's the beautiful part about this podcast is it can morph into virtually anything that we, and I say we as like the fans as well, would like to see. We're very interactive on Twitter, and I'm on the Facebook group. I need to get her
He's very active. I'm not very active.
but she's still there. And on the Facebook page as well. So we'll probably put out some polls as to see if there's any episodes that you guys would want. But plus, want to let you guys know right out the gate, I already have Eric Mabius as well as Kristen Booth and Crystal Lowe. They have all agreed to do interviews for this podcast. I'll be conducting those through Skype. And I actually think right before we started recording this one, I got a message from Crystal explaining, because we're trying to work out some scheduling. But I plan on working on getting. Oh, yes.
What?
Oh, I
No,
thought you were about to say
sorry.
something. No, it's okay. I'm also working on. Apparently, from what I can tell, Jeff, who plays Norman, is kind of like the odd one out of. It's hard to get a hold of him to do interviews, and I'm going to make. I have two conquests for this show. I have Jeff that I'm going to get on here, so I'm banking on it, sir. And then also, and this one will be a really, really big deal for me. So maybe you guys can also help lobby for this. Carol Burnett. I'm going to try to get Carol Burnett on the show as well because I absolutely adore her. I grew up watching her. I loved everything that she did. Watched the Carol Burnett show religiously. So we're going to try to get her on as well. But we're also going to be working with trying to get Zach Santiago, who plays Ramon. We're going to try to get Lane Edwards. There's just several of the actors that have been on the show, as well as some of the supporting actors. Keb Mo, I'm going to be reaching out to, and anyone else that you guys can think of that you would want to have on the show. Feel free to let me know. You can leave a comment on where you can tweet me. You can leave a comment on Facebook. You can, if this goes up on YouTube or any of the other ones, the video wherever you see this, and if you want someone, leave a comment and I'll get a notification. How about that? There's way too many social networks. I don't know, and thinking I like also bringing it back to the show. I like how no one really understands that world except for Shane, and they're like, "You do the computer thing that you do," and she's like, "Okay," she gets up, and apparently she's a master hacker, but it works. So anyway, that is kind of the basis for the show. We are going to, record as time allows. I'm not going to get on a set schedule just yet, just given the school year just started. We're also, we have a couple of hospital visits that we're going to be doing for her as we work on getting her better. And it's just we also have 4 children, so anyone that has kids, that right there, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And also again, we are very big Christmas nuts. So anything that is Christmassy, I know people were really hoping for another Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas movie this year. We didn't get one. Hallmark, please renew the show. We're all waiting. But we're just look forward to some really, really good content. We're going to do our best to make it fun. We do a lot of we're really conversational. And we're going to, that's another thing. One last thing is not only we're going to be doing interviews with the actors and the actresses and the crew, but I also have plans to link up with some of you, the fans, to do interviews with you guys. I know that some of you guys do Postables on the go, and you've met up with some of the actors and actresses, and you got to meet Martha Williamson and Crystal Lowe and all that. That was really, really cool. I'm looking at talking to some of the bloggers that are out there that have their own sites. We're going to talk to some of the admins of the Facebook group, a lot of the active Twitter users. I just know a lot of people. Oh, and also Rudy on the radio. I know that you've done a bunch of interviews, but this time you're going to be the interviewee. Yeah, I'm the interviewer. You're gonna be the interviewee, or maybe we'll just turn it into like a double interview. You interview me, I'll interview you, and it's just one just circular interviews. Anyway, I don't know. I'm tired. It's late. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you again, you'll be able to find all of this on all the different audio platforms, all the video platforms, and anywhere that you see it. Feel free to give it a like or a share or what have you so that we can help spread this and garner new fans so that way we can come as a big postable army to Hallmark and say, give us another season, please, or at least another couple of movies at the very least. We have to have we have to have a Shane and Oliver wedding. We really, really do. Oh,
That would be
sorry.
great.
For those that haven't watched the show, but you're just getting into it and you're listening to this, spoilers. Sorry. Anyway, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. What?
You just steamroll through conversations.
What did I do?
Something I wanted to add.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I'm just
He's saying we're conversationalists and he's talking.
that I have a bad habit of doing that.
No, it's fine because I'm not feeling great tonight. Hence why I'm not saying much. I am a conversationalist, just I'm not him. But when he does do some of the interviews, I'm not going to be in all of them for multiple reasons. Mostly I'm really shy, but it also will depend on how my health is and how I've been feeling and how I'm doing. So, yeah.
That's one thing that you guys are gonna learn about us is we're incredibly transparent, and we are very understanding about how life can get in the way of certain things. Sometimes schedules don't go like you plan. Sometimes you can't record when you want to record. Sometimes you can't go to the store when you want to go to the store. I just rhymed a little bit, but when it comes to the interviews, again, there's a few that she's probably going to be on with me, but there's some where she's like, "No, you can do it. I'll be good."
Well, just because I just, I feel like the conversations will flow really well
Mm-hmm.
with just you and that person.
Gotcha.
Mostly I'm nervous. I'll be transparent too.
It's I think with some of those it'll probably be a little it might end up being a little 50-50 depending on who it is that we have that we're interviewing. Again, the interviews are going to be conducted through Skype. There will be a visual element to them as well, so I'll be posting those up on the YouTube channel and all the different video platforms as well because I think it's going to be I think it'll be a really, really good deal. So was there anything else you would like to add before we go?
Don't think so.
So I need to. That's one thing I will work on. That's my homework. I will make sure that I don't just start and just keeps on going, and you're just like, I guess I'm not saying anything.
That's why I interrupted your
My sign off.
Yeah.
My sign off. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, thank you guys again so much for the interest in the podcast. We couldn't have done this without you guys and your encouragement. We never would have thought to actually do a podcast just based on this show. But again, the fandom, and I actually coined a term that people start picking up on. It's not really a fandom, it's a famdom because I have not. All right, that's one thing I will say. I know, I'm just still talking.
That's what this is.
Yeah, how about that? I'm a media person. I went to my first movie at age 4, and I was hooked from there on. I know a lot of the different TV shows that are out, the movies that are out, things like that. And I've seen fandoms. I've never been to a Comic-Con, want to go, but I have seen fandoms, and there's so much infighting in between the fandoms where there's just like everyone has their own interpretation of the characters or their motivations and things like that, and they just start. You have some people that are for one group, and then they have I hate the term, but they're shipping for another group, or for another couple, and it's just like they start arguing, and it's a mess. I have not seen that once with the Postables, and I absolutely love that. The fact that the group treats each other like a family, and it
Did I
doesn't.
mention my happy bubble?
Yeah, yeah.
Even the fandom is a happy bubble.
It is the fandom is a complete and total happy bubble, and I absolutely love that. There's all walks of life that are there. I've seen stories about some of the Postables flying cross country to be with the other ones. I saw today on Twitter someone had surgery and everyone was giving them encouragement. It's just a nice group of people, no infighting, no back talking, no people don't really seem to get their feelings hurt. I know I've only been part of the fandom for a little bit, but based on what I can see, everyone's chill and gets along. So if you're not part of it, look on Twitter for the hashtag Postables, and that's it's spelled exactly as it sounds, and everyone typically does the capital P and a capital O for PO box. See? Oh, what can I say? Anyway, so that is, but I highly encourage it. If you're not part of the fandom, but you want to find a family, feel free to hop on, use the hashtag. You'll find all of us, and you'll be welcomed in with open arms.
Well, yes, like me. It was requested that I join Twitter, so I made an account, and I think by the end of the second day, I had 31 followers.
Yeah, it was funny because Amanda, she is one of the admins for the Facebook group, and I kept mentioning, because I like to brag about you, I kept mentioning you, and Amanda and several others were like, "Is she on Twitter? Because we want to talk to her, we want to follow her, we'll welcome her with open arms," and Tash was a little hesitant. She's like, "I don't even go on Twitter anymore," because you have an older Twitter account that just hasn't been used. Oh, you have two of them, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're like, all right, fine, I'll just create a new one. And you created a new one, and I was like, hey, everybody, look.
Well, it's not just that. It's sort of like a fresh start. Don't want to bombard the few people who might still follow me on my other account with, if I ever get crazy active with that. I don't know. It just felt like.
And what's funny is I started tweeting about this and Hallmark, and that's some of the main things that I tweet about, and I haven't really lost any followers, and I haven't had anyone throw a book at me saying shut up or anything like that, so that's good. But yeah, right now if you were to look at my Twitter feed, it's Hallmark Postables, and that's virtually it. And I'm going to and I'm also about to be one of the lead writers for a website called Nerd Dad, which has a large following as well, so it's going to be a nice big mixture of reviews and stuff like that. But this is going to be probably one of my bigger focuses, because it's a show that's worth it. And then on the Christmas one. The Christmas one is going to be really, really fun, where again, we're Christmas nuts. We're going to be reviewing tons of Christmas movies.
Did I mention my happy place?
It is a happy place. And to get all mushy for a second, I didn't really learn to fully love Christmas until I married you.
Okay, just don't tell the story. That's for the Christmas podcast.
It's for the Christmas podcast, yes. Okay, so anyway, thank you guys so much for...
Now you have to watch it to find out the story.
Yes. See, that's a good segue.
I know.
You know what? You should be a podcaster. Anyway, thank you guys so much for...
Sign off.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Thank you guys so much for... Sorry. Thank you so much for... I'm trying. For listening and watching. We will talk to you guys on the next episode of the DLO After the Show. Bye!